Hello, and we want to thank you for being on this call today with MonicaRebella, CPA and President of Rebella Accountancy, which is a CPA firm that specializes in accounting, tax, consulting, and financial services for hundreds of individuals and business clients in California. Our topic of the call today is, how do you know if your investment plan is growing at the percentage rate it should be to reach your retirement goal? If you're not a current client of Rebella Accountancy and you have not met her, MonicaRebella is a CPA and has 25 years of accounting and tax expertise, which includes 13 years working with the Big Four, Big Eight firms, and over 12 years experience working with dental practices. She is past president of the Orange County Long Beach chapter of the California Society for CPAs and is a member of the AICPA. She has conducted training sessions for accounting firms as well as lectured on tax and business matters to the California Society of CPAs, UCLA Dental School, and the Orange County Dental Academy. Monica runs her own firm in Tustin, California, providing tax, accounting, consulting, and financial services for individuals and businesses throughout the state. And Monica, I think you're on the line tonight. I hear you in the background. Good afternoon, and welcome to the call.
Good afternoon and good evening to everyone. Thank you so much, Jeff. I appreciate the nice intro. Well, everybody, the reason for this webinar is that I hear this a lot from my clients out there, and, I hear it so often. I really just wanted to get this recorded and give some examples to let people know, am I in good shape for retirement? How do I know? How much money do I need? So it's such a common question and a common situation that we deal with. I wanted to get this out there. So we're talking about, how do you know if your investment plan is growing at the rate that it should be to reach your retirement goal? And that's the big question here. We have some slides, and the next slide is, there's a saying, everybody wants to go to heaven, but not right now. So it's the same thing as, maybe you want to retire right now, maybe you don't, and we're going to go through whether you can or not. So then to our next slide, investment planning is similar in that, okay, and here's what it is not. Everybody wants to make money, but we don't want to spend too much time to figure out, what we're going to lose, if we're willing to lose anything at all. Risk tolerance is important. Do you not want to lose any of your money? Well, then it should be in cash, right? If you don't want to lose anything, then don't invest it in anything. What's your target? Do you know what the number is? And I can tell you, my clients don't. They don't know what that number needs to be. So that's part of talking about this as well. Know what deposits, contributions, in other words, are needed and how, over what kind of a time frame to meet the goal, to meet your your cash flow requirements for retirement. So we're going to talk about that. Our next slide is time flies by, and all of a sudden, my goodness, I think I would like to retire in the next 5 years. Well, let's talk about this. Smart people making money think that it's all going to be there for them. All they have to do is they're working really hard, putting some money away, and they think it's just going to magically all be the right thing when they're getting exhausted and tired, and they're going to be good. There is a book out there that I've read, and it's called I Am Smart, But Why Don't I Have Any Money? And that's a recurring theme. What happened? Our next slide is smart people make bad assumptions. So let's talk about what we talk about, what we just said. What are these assumptions that smart people make? Well, if you're working for a private company, just a corporation or a company, and it's not, in the government sector, it usually is my company is giving me raises. They're helping contribute to my 401k, but guess what? Companies aren't anymore. They're not putting money into retirement plans for you very much anymore, right? So now it's up to you. There isn't that contribution necessarily from companies anymore to help you with your retirement. If you're with the government, haven't we seen what's going on there? We cannot pay as taxpayers all this retirement money that's sitting out there for people that are government employees. So the assumption there is I can count on my government pension. Really? that's all being renegotiated. Isn't that scary? And then a business owner. Well, have you done a retirement plan? And if you have you been putting the maximum amount in? And even if you have, is that enough? I've got some people that make some good money, but because they're young, they can't put a lot of away tax-free. So you got to start looking at, okay, it can't all be a tax deduction. So we need to look at what's being saved and put away that's after-tax dollars, and that is important on top of it. Our next slide is the danger is just one bad or one wrong assumption, okay? And here's what happens. You don't pay attention to it, and all of a sudden when you thought you were 5 years from retiring, you're going to work a lot longer. It tells you that if you're not going to work longer, that your lifestyle is going to have to change in retirement. It's not going to be the retirement you thought it was. The next is that you may have to dig into your retirement plan savings faster than you want to. In other words, you could deplete your money faster if you want to have the same lifestyle, but you didn't save enough. And that's really unsettling, isn't it? Do we know if our retirement money is going to last us forever until we do pass away? And that's exciting. Other things that happen, unexpected situations. You lost your job. You got laid off. Wow. Then you might be dipping into your retirement plan before you wanted to because you don't have a job. That's scary. High cost of education. Boy, that's eating us up. It's getting higher and higher all the time. That dips into our funds that we can put away for retirement. What about mom and dad? What if all of a sudden they have to move back in with you and you're now the caregiver for your mom and dad? So all these things can be things that happen and put you a little off track. And gosh, we're going to need to think about those. So let's talk about some case studies. So we've got the first one here that we're going to go through. And it's going to give us, do we know how much we have? And if what we do know what we have, do we know what that's going to be when we reach retirement? So here's our first scenario. Where are we today? How much money do we have in our accounts today? That's important. Then, how old are you? And how many years are you going to work still until you want to retire? Okay? So let's go through our first scenario, and you'll see that we have a slide that goes through how to determine your net worth. And determining your net worth is important here. You need to figure out what your home is worth, what your savings and investment accounts are, your college funds. You need to put everything here, including furniture and jewelry. And then what do you owe? And the point of really doing this is to come up with what's your discretionary income. Okay, not only your net worth, because everyone likes to figure out what they're worth, but what's your discretionary income. So you have to break it down by months as well to figure out what you can put away. Let's go back to our first scenario here. Again, we're using someone that's age 45 and has 20 years till retirement, 65. Okay? We look at what an average portfolio will do over time, and 5% is very, very conservative. We're not trying to hit the home run there with that, and this is a conservative type of approach. But when we factor in inflation, which will happen over time, especially in the next 20 years, it's really 3% that it's going to grow on an annual basis. Then if someone is 65, we look at how many years they're going to be in retirement. So for this particular person, we're estimating 15. Well, that only takes you to 80. People live a lot longer than that, so this could actually be a much higher number. We are now looking again at a 3% inflation rate of increasing our retirement plans and what our tax rate might be. So we put 35%, and that's in California, with California being at 9% and the rest of it being at the IRS rates. So that's some of our assumptions. So now we estimate your needs. What we ask people is, how much money do you need when you retire? First of all, you should be debt-free. You shouldn't have debt. So if you don't have to worry about that mortgage anymore or mortgages on any properties, this is just really money you need to live on, no debt to be serviced. So with this person, we're saying $60,000 a year, plus we're kicking in some Social Security, and we'll see that. But taking the $60,000 and knowing that we have to replace that in retirement years, that it's going to be less than $60,000 when you retire. We're looking at more like $45,000 to $42,000 is what it will be cash worth when you retire. And then we look again at our tax rate at 65%. So if we look at that, what you really need to have is $64,000 at retirement to net you in your pocket $42. That's all that this is saying, is that you have to have 64 so that you have 42 in your pocket. The next step of our calculation is, what are you going to get for Social Security? So for this instance, we've actually said $24,000 in Social Security a year. If we take some kind of an inflation, the last few years, Social Security hasn't gone up. It went up this last year. So there's odd things happening there as well, but we used a 2% increase. So we've come up with what we think Social Security will be in 20 years when this person retires, which is 35. Our next part of our calculation is, again, taking the $64,000 that we believe the person needs to have 42 in their pocket, the 35 that we think Social Security will grow to in 20 years. This person wants to have $100,000 in retirement every year. Okay, that's what this person needs to have to live on it, and it covers having taxes included in that number. So look at our calculations. Again, we're looking at 15 years in retirement. This person, again, is 45, got 20 years to go. And you'll see, jump down to the bottom, they need $1,400,000 at the time they retire so that they can have $100,000 a year. You're saying, wow, $1.4 million. And they've got 20 years to go. Yeah, they have 20 years to go. Let's flip to the next slide. The next slide is what we talked about. What do you have now? What are your assets right now? So our assumption with this person is that they've got $50,000 in savings accounts after tax dollars. They've got $150,000 right now in 401k and deferred income, retirement income. So right now they've only got $200,000 in retirement accounts, this particular person. They have 20 years till retirement. What we think their dollars are in a 20-year look forward is $293. That's what we think their estimated retirement dollars on just that is going to be in 20 years. So only $93,000 increase from that number. Okay? Go back and look at the fact now with the next slide is that they needed $1.4 million. If we take away the $293 that we just calculated, thinking that that's what it'll grow to, it leaves us $1.1 million. They're $1.1 million short of what they need to have. Now we've got 20 years to get there. So you'll see at the bottom with the big circle around it. For these people with 20 years to go, it's $2,692 a month they need to put away, or $33,670 a year. Now, if you're doing a 401k, the maximum you can do is $16,500. If you reach 50, you can do 22. So that's a big chunk of this, doing it through payroll. Absolutely make sure you're maximizing your 401k. You've got to do that. But then you can see you need to put away a certain amount every month as well with your after-tax dollars, or we're not going to reach our goals, right? So you can see that. We're going to shift a little bit now, and we're going to go to a second case study. Because you could say, well, I'm older than 45. I don't have 20 years. So this is scary. What does that mean to me? So our second example here, we're going to take someone that's 55 with 10 years till retirement. And honestly, a lot of my clients are in this thing. They're 10 or 7 years away from retirement. So this is a scenario that I run up against a lot, okay? Some people are in a better place than others. And I want to stop here. I want to let you know that single people are so far behind this compared to married people. It's incredible. It is now estimated that single people are only 40% ready for retirement. They are so far behind saving retirement, it's amazing. Where married people are 70 to 75% getting on track with their retirement. So if you're single and listening to this, really listen up, because you are not paying attention to your retirement. It tells us in the statistics. So this scenario is age 55 with 10 years till retirement. So let's go to this person. So we are now looking at what this person needs for their retirement. And what we're looking at here is they need $1.3 million. Okay, and you're so, well, wait a minute. The first scenario, the person needed $1.4 million. And if that's right, they did. But this individual only has 10 years to retirement. So they have less time that they're actually going to get there, and their money's not going to get to that same level. So they're at $1.3 million, as they have less years that they need to have this money go for, right? They're a little older. So they need $1.3 million. We're going to use the same concept about their savings, $242,000. And so we subtract, and they're $1,068,000, about $1,070,000 short. Look at this at the bottom. They need to put away $6,881 every month, or $85,449 every year. Big, isn't it? It's big. However, put it into chunks. Max out that 401k. If you own a business, max that out. By the way, in the other scenario, if you have a business, you could potentially get to $45,000, which would be well in excess of the $33,000 in the first scenario. But in this one, you've got to max out, and if you're a business owner, max it out. Then you've got to make sure you've got a very, very good strategy of how to save monthly. And it goes back to your budget. And if you haven't looked at your budget, please do spend some time to figure out what it costs you monthly and to be disciplined about putting money away. It's very important. Looking at our next slide on rate of returns, what has the stock market done? And boy, are we painfully aware. We had a big downturn in 2008, and if you see here, the market went down 38%. So we had a big hit. Now, the good news is that in 2009, 2010, the market came back 35, 36%, right? Almost recovered from 2008, but no growth, right? So we weren't even back to where we were December 31, 2007, and not to mention the fact we didn't have any growth. So we're still behind, and you've seen our roller coaster in 2011, right? So looking the last few years, it's tough for people that were trying to retire or have retired. Boy, does it look really sad for them right now. You hope they had excess assets. Well, let's talk about risk tolerance, because this is all about it. You just saw what the market has done. If you don't want to lose a single dollar, you don't want to have anything in the market. But I'm going to tell you that's really the wrong way to look at it. Over time, the stock market does very well. It appreciates better than anything else you can do. So over time, you need to be in it. Now, when you get to retirement, you shouldn't have a lot of your money in the stock market. You can't make it back up. But until that time, you always should have some in the market, because it's a hedge, right? If the stock market's not doing well, you're going to have more in fixed assets, in fixed income rather, and bonds. But if the market's doing well, you want to have more in the market. So it's all a matter of how aggressive you want to be, how much time you have, and your scared level. How scared are you that you might lose it? And that's called your risk tolerance. This person has got 75% of their assets in the market. Now, there's an adage here that says if you have that much, you better be 25 years old. Because when you're 25 years old, the concept is you have 75% in the stock market and 25% in bonds. This person better be young to be this aggressive or have a lot of time still on their side to invest, because that's a huge amount that's sitting there for this bumpy ride in the market. Let's go to our next slide. Our next slide is a very conservative portfolio. It means this person is quite concerned about the turbulent time in the market. They've actually got 35% of their assets in the market. So if we use the same scenario as before, if they've got 35% in the market, 65% are in fixed income, the person's probably 65 years old, because that would be the way some of this stuff works. And at 65, you're starting to retire, and you may make it even less in the stock market because, again, if the market goes down, you can't make it back up. You just don't have time on your side. But if you're not in retirement yet, you're in your 50s, this is a pretty consistent portfolio right now that we see out there. Okay, well, here's the next warning here, and I chose someone going to the dentist because I have a lot of dentists as clients, and boy, isn't that scary. You see that shot, right? Well, here it is. I'm okay losing what percentage of my portfolio? So this is your scared meter. How scared are you? Are you willing to risk any? 5, 10? How much are you willing to lose? But know that you'll make it back up. And again, in 2008, the average stock portfolio lost 25%, but we showed it was actually 38% down. And I'll tell you, a lot of portfolios were there. The best I saw was -2%. That was the best I saw from some portfolios, and that's astounding. That's just absolutely astounding. So, we have to say this to ourselves. Where are we on the scared meter? So here's our next slide. We want to start with what you know. What do you have today? You really need to get your arms wrapped around what you have today. You need to figure out your budget, to figure out what you really spend your money on so that you can get an idea of what you need in income when you retire. That's going to drive how much you need to save for. Because if you want a lifestyle where you are now, take out your debt, that'll give you an idea of the income. Then we start moving towards your goal of how you get there between 401k, retirement plans, as well as your after-tax dollar saving. So find out where we are now, figure out where you want to be when you retire, how many years. Then we look at the scared meter. How scared are you that you lose something, and then figure out where we go from there. Our next slide is about risk tolerance and what these various type of investments are that you have to think about on your scared meter. So the first one is liquid. There's nothing scared about that. Cash, savings, money market, CDs, okay? These are all things that aren't going to lose any value at all, right? But you're not going to make much on them. What are we getting now? 0.0002? And we're getting such low amounts, so you're not going to make anything. They're not going to grow, but you won't lose anything. Equity, stocks, that's purely what it is. You're in the market. Bonds. Bonds are not as risky as stocks. They're still things that you buy through the stock market, if you will, but they're bonds. And what they're meant to do is give you income over time. They give you interest over time. They don't really lose value. But in saying that, they can sell for a little bit less than you bought them for, but they're really the long haul, giving you a fixed income. These are these type of fixed incomes. Real estate. Well, we all know where real estate is at these days. If you're a buyer, you can get some good deals. If you own real estate, you know it's gone down in value. It's a very long-term, not liquid investment. It's good for the long haul. If you have no debt on it and you've got renters, you have income. So it can be a positive thing in retirement. But it is not liquid. You cannot go sell it tomorrow. But it may be a good income producer. I've got people that own their buildings, and people pay them rent. It's great as long as you don't have vacancies, right? And I think you've all been up and down the streets knowing there's a lot of vacancies in places. So it's one of these where it's great if you have renters and you've got the rent and you don't have debt. Okay? Speculative investments. This is gold, silver, my friends. These are the things that you don't have control over. It has control over you. Getting involved in partnerships where you're not the general partner. These are very speculative. It's never to be the most of your money. If you want to dabble in it, great, but you can't dabble if you don't have excess that's clearly and solidly in a good plan for you. It's only if you've got some extras that you want to play with, but you've got to have a solid portfolio that's making money for you in a very, very good managed portfolio. Then if you have some extra, you can go into those things. I find people that want to get into real estate partnerships and they don't know who the general partners are. They have no control. They're giving them their money. You're just literally giving your money to them. So it's never meant to be much of your portfolio unless you already have a solid one. And you can lose risking it, because this means you would potentially lose it all. So understand speculative means you've got to think, I will get zero money back. That's what those mean. Well, the next slide is a complimentary meeting with me. I would love to sit down and go through all of this with you. And I offer an hour complimentary meeting to see where you are, talk about, do you know what your budget is? Do you know what you want to do? Do you know how many years before retirement? And really kind of start developing this with you. I would love to sit down. The other is, how often do you hear from your financial advisor, if at all? You should be hearing from them a couple times a month, especially in crazy, crazy times we're having. So I would look forward to seeing you. I do have some openings available between now and the end of October. If you call and make an appointment, I'd love to see you. So make sure my calendar doesn't get filled up. I would love to have you come and sit down and start chatting to see if you're in the right place. We can run through these calculations together. Jeff, I'm going to turn it back to you.
Well, great. Monica, if somebody is interested in sitting with you for either a complimentary meeting or maybe a free portfolio review, go ahead just in case and tell them what's the best phone number and I guess email to get a hold of you at.
Absolutely. The phone number here at the office, and you can make an appointment on a calendar with my office manager, Tammy, or with Anna, who's in my front office. Our phone number is 714-619-0667. And that would be the best way to call and let them know you heard the webinar and you wanted to get a complimentary review of your portfolio. And I would love to see you.
Great. Monica, this has been great information. And again, we want to encourage everybody that's listening, either live or on the replay, to contact Monica at her office or via email for either a free portfolio review or a complimentary just planning meeting where she can sit down and talk with you. Monica, thanks again, and we want to, again, wrap up and just let everybody know that they can contact you between now and the end of October, and you'll be happy to meet with them.
Actually, anytime, but I do have space, and I think that, seize the moment and come now. I don't know if I can keep offering the free consultations, so do it. But, even after this time frame, I'd be happy to see you. It's just whether I can continue to do them as a free consultation. So give a call. Let's get together. Thanks so much, Jeff.
Thanks. Thank you, Monica. And we want to thank everybody for being on the call today. It was with MonicaRebella, CPA and President of Rebella Accountancy. And the title was, How Do You Know If Your Investment Plan is Growing at the Rate It Should Be to Reach Your Retirement? Monica, thanks again.
Take care.